Alright guys, how are you doing? It has been a long time since I've done anything, and so I thought what I would do is take you out for a walk and maybe tell you a story. First of all, if you are listening to this, you're not obviously seeing me out and about on a walk, but you can enjoy the story on Pillars of Grief. And obviously if you're on YouTube, then you're going to be taking part in this. Hopefully you'll enjoy it. And if you haven't joined my grief community and you would like to join, then go to my website, jockbrokers.com. Just fill in the form, it's free, you can come and join. We're planning some good events and classes that are going to be coming up pretty soon. And so what I want to do is to kind of take you along this journey. And I thought what I would do is I'll tell you about a story about maybe the first time that I actually ever seen a spirit. First time I ever saw what people would term as a ghost. Now, many years ago, when I was young, not that, that's a long time ago, but I used to spend most of my youth, most of my time when I was really, really young. I think I must have been about 8 or 9 years old, probably even younger than that. I'd been going up to the monastery in Perth, in Connell, in Scotland. And this monastery was a really majestic, it's like a castle actually. And some of you have probably shared the images of that monastery. I spent most of my youth there before I even looked at going into the priesthood or anything like that. So most of my time was actually spent wherever I could going in that monastery. But the thing about the monastery was, my uncle was a monk, by the way, just before I say my uncle was a monk. But in the monastery, it was massive. You can imagine like a massive castle, like a massive Scottish castle. It had, I don't know how many rooms, but there was 3 floors, there was a bell tower. And the bell tower, that was quite a scary place to go actually. And where I used to stay was when I went there, is my uncle would put me up in the attic. I'd have to go up in the attic. The attic was really scary, right? But the monastery had beautiful grounds. It had a little pond. You used to go walks up and around Connell Hill and come back down. Spent my time with all the priests and the brothers, the monks, and when people were on retreat, I'd been going on, later in my life, I went to retreat there loads and loads of times in various different places. But the thing about the monastery was that it was full of history, and history way back to the 17th century. And I used to love listening to the stories. There was a brother there that I was quite close to, Brother Pius. My uncle was named Brother Magella, and I would go up there and spend a lot of time. Pius would take us out and about, round about the town or outside, and we would go to prayer, we'd go to church. But there's this one time when I was staying there, I had to go up I'd be living up in the attic, and the attic was close to the bell tower. Now, if you can imagine this place, maybe 100 odd rooms, maybe a couple of 100 odd rooms, and then the attic rooms. And it was quite a scary place. And it was the kind of place where you never had, the rooms were very sparse because they were monks' rooms, right? So there was a bed in there was a table in there, and on the table there was the Bible and a prayer book, a Redemptor's prayer book, and not much else. There was a cupboard that you could put your clothes in, and then my window kind of faced out toward the car park, and sometimes you could see, depending on the day, you could see right into Perth. And I used to spend a lot of time there in my room, and studying and reading books, and they had a massive library in this monastery, massive library. But I remember one night I was up in the attic, and like I said, Yeah, oh. I don't know what happened there. Something happened. Hopefully we can't. Anyway, like I said, I was up in the attic rooms, and there was no bathroom. There was no bathroom at all. You couldn't. You had to go out into the hallway to go to the bathroom. So you never had anything in the room, nothing. And I'll never forget that there was one night that I was bursting for a pee, and I decided, okay, I'm going to run to the bathroom, and I'll go out the door, and you go up the hallway, turn left, run down, halfway down the hallway, and then you would get where the bathroom. So you would jump into the left-hand side, then the bathroom would be in there. And I never forget this, because, and I never for once did I ever think I was going to see anything spooky or anything like that. I wasn't, that wasn't the issue. What I did was, I got up and I went to the bathroom, and as I was coming back, I turned around and I looked down the hallway, and down the hallway I saw this priest, this monk, if you like, in priest garb and clothes. And I waved to him in the night. I said, "Hi, hello, Father, how are you?" And he just totally ignored me. And I could see him as plain as the day goes by. I can remember looking down, and it's real, seeing him, totally real. And he disappeared. So you probably hear all the road that I'm walking by. I'm at a lake area, and the road's really busy. He disappeared. And I couldn't believe it, because I thought he was being ignorant. I didn't see him just disappear in thin air. I saw him kind of just go through the wall or through the doorway, that kind of thing, right? I didn't know that at the time. So then I thought nothing of it, apart from, well, he was a bit ignorant, he never said anything, didn't acknowledge me. Nothing. And so I never thought much else. I ran back to my room as a young kid, and back into the attic room. Scary, because everything creaks, and the statues that line the hallway of saints, and to me, I looked at them and they looked really scary. They looked really scary. They looked like they were looking at you and judging you. And you ever get that feeling where I saw really noisy here. Sorry, guys. You ever get that feeling though, where you look at a picture, but you think the picture's staring back at you, and it's kind of judging you? And these pictures, they were never smiling. So the artists, they would draw these pictures of these saints, Saint Alphonsus, Saint Augustus, different saints. And I always thought they were always judging me. And so they looked really, really scary. So I never want to stand out in that hallway too long and just run, do a pee, see the Father, disappear, come back. Never thought nothing of it. So the next morning, I got up, I run down. Now, we've got to go down three flights of stairs, massive stairs, like wide, they're going around, down, just like in a castle you would see in a movie, right? So I get down the stairs, I go to the refectory for breakfast. All the priests are there, nuns are there that are maybe there on retreat, various people, and my uncle Tom, he was serving, and Brother Magella was there. I happened to then tell Pius about what I saw and explained it. And he didn't kind of poo-poo or nothing, but he knew that there was nobody up there. There was no other priests up there, there was no brothers up there, there was nobody else up in the attics, it was just me. So Pius is kind of gone now, but he was great. He used to tell me stories and he used to teach me lots of different things, and he'd take me into old crypts that we had there. He would take me into places, get old books and things like that. So I remember I told him what I had saw, and he got this old album in one of the libraries, this information, where all these pictures and things were. And I remember looking down, and I pointed to who it was that I saw. And it turns out that I've gone off again. Now why is that going off? Is it heat? Alright, so I don't know where I may have lost you guys there. So it turns out that that priest that I saw, that monk, member of the community, actually had passed many, many years before. Way back in the 18th century actually. So that was my first time of seeing, if you like, objectively seeing a spirit. But then you can imagine, I'm in a religious monastery, you know, Catholics being Catholics. It was time to get a lecture. I remember getting a lecture from one of the priests who told me that I should be wary, that there's good and bad and there's evil as well, and you know, the whole fire and brimstone and Satan's going to get you and you've got to be careful, and Satan comes as an angel, as a being of light. But the reality was, it never really scared me. But the reality was, that was the first time that I'd actually seen it, and it to be corroborated, right? So that was corroborated by seeing the photograph, the old photograph, way back. Probably wasn't even the 18th century, because it was a black and white, really old photograph, so I can't actually remember the date. But having that corroborated was quite something for me. I never thought nothing much of it really after that, until I had all these lectures. They frightened the living daylights out of me, because I'm a young kid, remember. I know I'm being told about fire and brimstone and hell and how evil spirits can trick you and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, cut a long story short, that was the first time that I ever seen a spirit, objectively, with my own eyes, as a young kid, in a monastery, on top of the floor in the attics. That was it. There was no pomp and circumstance, nothing massively scary. It wasn't like a lit up spectre or orbs or anything like that. Just looked like a normal being that had passed over and crossed in. Now, when I did go up and start looking, I did go back and look at the hallway and where I seen him, to identify if there was a doorway or nothing there. And where I actually seen him, there was nothing but a solid wall. So it was interesting, and that place is full of history. So hopefully I enjoyed a little bit of that. That's the first time I ever saw a spirit. I'll try and bring some other stories every now and again when I go out and about. I'm trying out a new camera here as well, and it kept on kicking off, so I need to figure out what went wrong or what I did wrong. But thanks for joining me, guys. I'll be back to doing more episodes on Pillars of Grief. Lots of new things coming up. As I said before, I've been very busy doing a lot of academic research. It's been heavy going. But join me, because I'll be doing a new episode soon with Dr. Pascal Michael, who him and I are actually going to be doing some research together, and other things that's going to be happening as well. My next talk, or next thing that I'm working on, is helping you to feel a real connection, to feel the touch, to feel your loved ones again, not just through your mind, but to actually feel a sensation. Because the biggest thing that we miss in our grief journey is that physical presence of your loved one. So join me very soon. God bless.